Welcome to the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. Whether inside or outside the loop, we are talking everything soccer in Houston. Y'all ready? Let's get it. Houston, welcome to another episode of the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. My name is Rudy Segura. I hope you have had a good Monday so far, a good start to your week. I hope you are. I mean, Houston Dynamo have producing back-to-back wins. Maybe not the best performances in some, maybe in others. But you know what? A win is a win. And so we're here to break those games down for you guys. No Cristian Putalias, we send them out. Take vacation, man, with his 102 kids out there enjoying life. But we are joined by a guest that we are happy to welcome. I was trying to think if he's been in this podcast so far or if he was in Dynamo Theory, but I am joined by German Benitez from Foxtrot. German, welcome to a new episode, man.
Rudy, thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it. Do you remember, have you been a part of the Bayou City Soccer Podcast in the past, or was that Dynamo Theory? It's been a minute, man.
It was an episode in Spanish, though.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember. Yeah, those I miss those. I wish David had more time so we can do more of the Spanish podcast, man. They go hard. I know is that what you're doing now, right?
Yes. So I am the host of the Spanish podcast for the Houston Dynamo called Dinámico. And you can find that on Foxtrot TV. So part of the Foxtrot Media Network. But I think you touched on something that I hope fans understand, like you and we're doing this on top of full-time jobs. You know, we're trying to give fans like you and I, because we're Dynamo fans at heart, right? But we're trying to do our best to give unbiased, legit Dynamo coverage on top of our home lives and our work lives.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's and the hard part is just being consistent. And when I jumped into doing this, I knew I couldn't half-ass it. I knew that because being on the other side of it, right? Being that fan that, because there's people that just, they just want to know who's playing, what's the starting lineup, and that's it.
Right.
You watch the game and you disconnect. But then there's people like you and me that are always on, I mean, hell, standing on Wikipedia and just going through everything, or, any kind of, I mentioned Wikipedia because I remember doing that, right? As somebody just watching soccer in general, you want to see where those players are from, where they're going.
Before we had Transfer Market and
of course, exactly, because that vibe goes way far back. But no, you're right, and I think we know and we understand that is a missing piece when it comes to here in the U.S., right? National media is going to worry about the NFL, NBA, MLB, and it's understandable. I mean, those leagues are just so big, and that's really their moneymaker at the end of the day. But it's important for somebody to give voice to all this MLS teams, and we know we're not. It feels like we're the only one like in that going through that, but it's not. Literally every
city
MLS team, every city deals with the same thing. It's the independent media that is out there doing the work of just keeping the information kind of going. I mean, you go to those press conferences, man. That's the way it goes for sure. And it's absolutely important and vital.
Yeah, it's when you said finding time. That's what came to mind. It's the reality. It's hard finding time. I understand Christian. I hope he's having a blast.
Yeah, we take turns, and you know what? I will tell him, shame on you, Christian, for telling me last minute. I didn't realize he was taking off, but it's okay. it's okay. All right. I'm glad I checked on him, because usually like we stay in communication like the whole day. But I was like, hey man, you good for tonight? And he's like, oh, I totally forgot to tell you. I'm not even in like at home. I went out. somewhere for vacation. I was like, well, thanks for
Excellent.
I'm glad I reached out, brother. Glad I'm reached out, and I'm glad I had reached out to Herman with time. Absolutely,
Yes,
man.
sir.
But hey, there is obviously quite a few games that we're gonna touch on. We'll kind of do our best to hit. There's like 4 Dynamo games in total. There's Dynamo 2 that will hit at the end. Probably be heavy on the first 2, and then we'll kind of fly by to the upcoming matches. But stay with me, Herman. We have slides, keeps us in guide and kind of going. Let me see. Christian Cuatro, yeah, everything, man. All righty. Let me go ahead and put some slides up here and we'll go from there. So to start, Dynamo News. There was news that they not just hired a head of analysis, but they made this role altogether. So Miguel Vidal is the first one in this specific role for the club. I think it's important that we continue to see since the arrival of Ted Siegel as the owner. He just continues to add different roles and staff members to this technical side of the club as well. Obviously, he's trying to improve the front office of the club. Um, I
I
know
think I
uh-huh,
think Ted doesn't get a lot of love
he
because
doesn't. He doesn't.
like we've seen this man spend money, you know. Uh I understand players, and to me I put that responsibility on Pat Onstad, because when Pat has asked Ted for money for players, dude, he's giving it, you know. But these are the expenditures that aren't sexy, that go in the background and that people don't realize are being made. Now, head of video analysis, I couldn't tell you what they do. In my mind, they're uh, capturing practice and games and trying to dissect, you know, soccer wise, and give it to and feed it to Ben Olsen and his staff. But it's phenomenal that we're thinking. You can tell this is an analytical driven front office.
Absolutely, and I think they're taking advantage of that. You can see it in the work that they do. You mentioned transfers. I think it makes it a little bit easier, kind of knowing where they go in some of the players, and then the way that Ben Olsen, whether it be formation or just technical awareness, and if it wasn't because of that, a few years back, people took a massive guess on some of the little clues that were given to a specific player that turned out to be Ibrahim Aliyu. And it was purely a lot of it was just data driven, and whether it worked out or not is just interesting the way that they're using those resources for sure. But we'll find out more about Miguel, and obviously he just got to the club and brand new role, so we'll see more or less. I know that they work with is it SCRB football,
Mm-hmm.
the data driven analysis, and obviously they'll work alongside Miguel as well, and we'll find out more information on that. But moving on to the first game here that we'll talk about, Herman, was the US Open Cup match between Houston Dynamo hosting El Paso Locomotive. I think on paper, it was starting to creep a lot of doubt in Houston Dynamo fans, just because of how good El Paso had been. Obviously, before that match, uh, they were just taking down a lot of the big names in their league, and so uh, I don't know if people really thought that they were going to lose, but definitely it could have been a closer game. And we've seen them, exit early. Was it as far as last year, right, against Detroit City? So, uh, but I mean, luckily we don't have to talk about that.
Right.
The guys that I think Ben did a really good job with the rotation. In the players that he picked. I wish the goalkeeper, I wish we would have seen maybe a Blake Gillingham instead of Jimmy Maurer. Nothing against Jimmy Maurer, but I mean, at 37, 38 years old, when you have a guy like Blake that's kind of played and started in quite a few matches last year, he did well, and he's a young guy too. And obviously, he's not getting playing time in D2. But that's really my biggest yeah, if I'm going to be critical, it'd probably be the goalkeeper position, just because of the amount of, or the lack of playing time that these guys can get, just because there's not that many tournaments, right? You only have the league and the US Open Cup. That's it, man. But what did you like of some players that we hadn't seen apart from in this match, Herman?
Yeah, no, goalkeeper wise, yeah, I really think you can't complain. You got three solid ones, right? So Ben can sleep easy at night on that end. So um, how he balances his time between goalkeeper 2 and 3, I don't know. That's why I'm not a head coach or a manager in corporate, right? Managing people is a science in its own. um, in terms of the game in itself, I was sad that we didn't. So El Paso was coming in hot, 5-game winning streak. Dynamo, not so much. Those combinations were creating those mixed feelings that you talked about. I'm sad we did not see El Paso in full strength. Their
Yeah,
best player, or I would argue their first or second best player, their number 10, Armando Moreno, didn't even travel due to injury. And that is by far their most dynamic, their most creative, their most spark player. And I wanted to see him combine with Rubin, who the national striker
Guatemala.
of
Hmm.
Guatemala, and he has MLS experience.
Right.
He's nasty.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how those two would create problems for the Dynamo, but like I said, Moreno didn't travel, so it was a less threatening El Paso, if you will.
Yeah.
What I love. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, and I was gonna say, to your point of that dynamic of El Paso being in a really good streak, and last week we spoke, Houston coming from a 3-game losing streak,
Yeah.
that it was a mandatory bounce back week, and they got it done.
Yes.
Well, you know, 50% here in against El Paso, and obviously we'll talk a little bit more about the weekend as well, but yeah, I mean, obviously, I was hoping to see Nick Markanek from the start,
Mm-hmm.
and hoping that he would score, a hat trick, just to kind of make everybody go a little crazy with the whole Ponce talk of, obviously he's struggling as well. Um, Nick does get the start, he does get a goal. Ponce comes from the bench, scores. I know a lot of people are gonna complain about, obviously he should do more, but man, that was a really impressive goal. That header. It's not an easy goal, and it looked like he scored, and he kind of se hizo una limpia. He just brushed down all the negativity he was dealing with. But those are the type of guys that you want to see click, and obviously you get Linger to score. I mentioned Nick, and of course, Ponce. The match ends up 4-1, and Bogush also gets on the score sheet. So all your attackers were able to find the back of the net against, again, what is supposed to be a very good team. It was just, you never knew if it was going to be really close or it was going to get out of hand. But I think that just builds a little bit of confidence, and I think after that match, I think a lot of us expected for them to continue, maybe leaning on that confidence boost, Herman. But now we know who the Dynamo will be taking on. I mean, for what, take it as it may be, but Austin ends up losing their match in the US Open Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Sporting Kansas City, who has turned into just a dumpster fire, lost as well. So now the next matchup for the Dynamo will be next week, next Wednesday. And I have the sheet here. There you go. The 29th against Louisville City, 7 p.m. at Shell Energy Stadium. This is the team that beat Austin. So, you know, I know, the fans are, they deserve nothing, but they have to say, they have to be critical. They can, their opinion matters, when it comes to when you're supporting this team. But you have to put it in the perspective of it. You see other MLS teams, which it wasn't many, but they also got knocked out.
Right.
Eh,
And
eh,
and with Ben Olsen, he's received a lot of criticism, and sometimes from me personally. But one thing about Ben Olsen, he will never disrespect this tournament. He will give it the same amount of respect as a MLS match day. So the Dynamo take this tournament seriously. And you mentioned two things I wanted to touch on real quickly about this game. One was the striker scoring, right? Ponce needed this. You can call it a cleansing. I call it a sigh of relief. His teammates knew it. I mean, he went to hug Guilherme. Everybody came up to him because everybody in that locker room knew that he needed to back this first one. I am one of the few people that believe in Ponce. I believe his best attribute is how he scored that goal. He's an excellent. He gets really high when he jumps up for a header. Like, it's insane how high he jumps. But scoring with his head is one of his best attributes. I'm not going to talk about pressing, but that's what this coaching staff loves. But he needs
Well,
to be
and
more clinical with his
that's
feet,
true.
because 5 minutes before
Mm-hmm.
he had a 1v1
Yes.
and he couldn't
Terrible
finish
touch.
that.
Took a
Terrible
terrible
touch.
touch.
Terrible
Uh,
touch.
I was calling for a goal, in front of my TV. I'm like, this is
Right.
a goal here.
Yeah.
Before he took the touch, you see a bad touch, and he had plenty of time. Everybody closes down, and nothing happens out of that. And that could be a part of, like, before he scored the goal, right? He just still was
Right.
not himself.
It's all mental, man. It's all mental. So hopefully, going forward, now we'll talk about it this weekend. What happened this weekend. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about this game was, let's go back to that first half real quick. Lingard, hell of a goal to start the match. He got on his bike and scored a beautiful goal. But more importantly, it's the fast start. The fast start allowed the Dynamo to control this game, to dictate it. And that's exactly what the doctor ordered. Not just the result. Forget the result. When was the last time you had a stress-free Dynamo game? They actually controlled it. And then, this is where my criticism comes in, but I got to give kudos to Ben Olsen in the second half. 21st, 24th minute, El Paso gets a red card. Now, if you're the Dynamo, the criticism on my end is, go knock them out. Go kill them. Kill them before the first half is over, so you can do subs at halftime and not waste energy. Well, they hung in there, dude. It was a 1-0.
They did hung in there, and I think we know that sometimes that complicates things, right?
It
Because
does.
when a team loses a man down, usually you have to stick to your defensive, your defensive role, and you makes it a little bit more compact. They're gonna look for counters, so you're closing a lot of those passing lanes. And Ben did spoke about that right after the game. He said, it got a little bit more difficult, a little bit more tricky when they win a man down, because first of all, they haven't played with a man up, and so that right there was comical, because we've seen so many red cards
The irony.
for the Dynamo. But it was like anything, right? It's going to be a matter of time before they break through, and they did. And you mentioned at one point, they were what, 3-0, 4-0 if it wasn't for Beto Avila scoring, which, even that, it was a good goal. It was a far away goal. You see it a few times, and it's not as far away from the goalkeeper, but at the end of the day, it's a heck of a
Yeah.
shot from the outside the goal. So it's really a game that it was Houston's to be from the beginning. And obviously, like you mentioned, that red card put it in a different situation the team hadn't seen. And at the end of the day, even though it took some time, they responded well, right? Because it
But
couldn't
that's the
always be.
kudos, right?
Mhm.
That's the
Yes.
kudos. It's the halftime adjustments. They made subs at halftime, and they came out the halftime aggressive, and that's when Bogus got his goal. Not even a minute. They were aggressive. They got the
Yeah.
message at half. That's what I commend, from ending it kind of lazy fair to end the first half to, okay, let's go seal this game to start the second. And Bogus got it a couple minutes going to start the second half.
Yeah, so again, we'll see next week this upcoming what is it, round of 32.
16
16 round of 16 for the
with
Houston
Louisville.
Dynamo
Hmm.
against Louisville. So we'll check how that go. Obviously, it's like you mentioned, it's an important cup for Ben Olsen and the Houston Dynamo. I mean, had what, two in the last 10 years at this rate. So it's an important trophy for them. Um so let's go ahead and move on to the weekend's game. And I know
Right.
again there's quite a few stuff and they kind of all bleed in. But this game here, man, I think we all were calling, the Dorsey Derby. It doesn't happen, so no Dorsey drama. I There wasn't really information on why he didn't make the team. I mean, I know he
No.
played midweek. That's the only thing I can think of. Then maybe they did decide to rest him, but it was interesting, especially like I said, of the trade, right before the season starts, kind of the questions around it. I know Pat said with us and was very honest about that, transaction and more or less why it was done. But I just wanted to see Dorsey playing the Dynamo. It would have been fun. It would have been fun to see him maybe get a goal on the Dynamo. Obviously, just create some tension, man. I mean, we love the drama, don't we?
Sports is the male's version of drama. You know,
Telenovela.
that's it. I mean,
Any
it
day, man.
really
Give
is,
me
dude.
a soap opera here. Man.
What did Pat Onstat tell you the reasoning for trading away Dorsey?
Well, the what he mentioned was that it had to do with his upcoming contract. They just didn't see the amount that they never. He mentioned that he never really discussed the amount that they were looking for salary wise per year, but it seemed like it was close to $1 million. And we haven't gotten the latest MLSPA
Yeah,
roster
your
information.
salary. Yeah,
Right, but granted, it wouldn't kick in till next year because
yeah.
obviously they're
So
just trading him in. He was in an option year, and so they didn't think that. Well, they weren't planning to pay him what it was, and
yeah,
I will say for what it is, Herman, as much as Dorsey transcends with the fans, and obviously he's a fan favorite. He
right.
hadn't been up to par to the Dorsey that we saw in 2023, and it seems like he really just tends to peak at certain times, if that makes sense. Certain
Yeah.
times, not to be completely blunt, but really when his contract's almost over, right? When he's
No, I
looking for a
got
new
you.
contract.
That's why a GM gets paid a lot of money.
Yes,
So you can see it in Houston sports. The Houston Astros, Kyle Tucker.
yes,
He was not going to resign. They traded away to the Cubs for Cam Smith.
right.
Okay.
And so
The
that was
Texans,
the
Laramie
important thing.
Tunsil. Laramie
Absolutely, yep,
Tunsil, your left tackle. You're not going to reach an agreement contract wise. So let me get something for him. And that way I have draft capital for this draft on
yep,
Thursday. So
yep. And that's
that's why
exactly
the
his
GM
point.
gets paid. That's
That's
why the
exactly
GM
his
gets paid.
point, and that's one thing I personally I love. I know that people may judge the type of transparency that this group has, whether it be Pat, whether it be Ben, whether it be Asher,
I
but
ain't
I feel
judging.
like
I
pretty
welcome it more.
they're very straightforward with the
Yeah.
information, and that's really the point. It was like it would be dumb for us to let him walk, and if the opportunity came that Dorsey, somebody was looking for Dorsey, knowing that they were going to pay him, they felt more. It was a win-win for them at the end of the day,
Right.
right? Dorsey gets
The only criticism is like you're
it's
really
a
not going to pay
timing,
Dorsey.
and
Yeah,
it's a timing too.
yeah, right before the season too,
Because
man.
we've seen it, right? It's like we've seen that movie before. Whenever you let go of some important players, whether it be Coco Carrasquilla, whether it be Mikael,
Hmm.
again, we know, you take into account or you take away the emotion out of it. And Dorsey hadn't really been one of your better players. I mean, we know the engine is there, the motor is there, the guy's going to give you 110% every single match, but he really wasn't providing you with the assists, the goals, something that you asked from him because yes, he was playing a right back, but man, he was an attacking player at the end of the day. So
Yes, yes.
you go into this match again. Everybody was hyped to possibly see a Dorsey
Yep.
battle. It does not happen. But this here, I'll put this image for you here. And I kicked you out. Where you go? Where are you? All right, there you go. So yeah, we see the starting lineup. It was interesting to finally see Hector Herrera on the starting lineup next to Chache. Um, him and Bossad have been playing together, and it wasn't
Hmm.
like they were struggling, but I think they are very similar in some aspects. And nobody was really retaining the ball. You needed somebody like Hector Herrera to come in, handle the ball. Ponce gets in the lineup as well. We know Bogus, Guillermo, who's been fantastic. Negri gets the star. Resch gets the star as well. I know you recently spoke to him. I'm sure giving a shout out to you guys. You can check out that interview you had with Agustin. But he's been a guy that has yeah, whether it be injuries or not. I mean, Svichenko is healthy, so there's a reason why he ends up getting the start. Um, but overall, you felt like okay, this is a pretty decent lineup, right? You're going against one of the not the greatest teams currently. They've gotten what 24 goals conceded, only
Right.
6 scored. And it's easy to say, hey man, there's a worse team in the league. You need to beat them 6-0. But they also were, they got a win that very questionable win during midweek, man. They played against I think FC Naples, and they score a goal that obviously there's no VAR, no one's gonna look at it. They win by the minimum,
Yeah.
1-0. And so it gives you a confidence, right? Again, a win is a win. Obviously you didn't manhandle that team that is technically inferior than you, but they're a team that were struggling. So I personally was predicting a draw. I felt like a 1-1 was gonna be the result. And for stretches, I thought that was going to be the case. But I know people ask about the highlights. Usually, we tend to play the highlights here in the background, so I'll play them, and you can just you don't have to go and describe what's happening on the on the highlights, Herman. So
No, that's
anything you
cool.
want to mention, feel free, brother.
Yeah, no. So another one of my previous criticisms of Ben Olsen in the past was his lack of adjusting.
Yes.
And this year he's adjusted. I mean, just to start his back three line, that's kind of
Yes.
new, you know. But this game, he adjusted too. He used the 4-4-2. I asked him after the game, so it's interesting to see them adjust now. I give kudos to that, and part of it could be we're playing 4 games in 2 weeks.
Yeah, Rushan agrees with you. Yeah, he finally adjusted. Absolutely, man. And it's something that we had. This is your seventh game in MLS, and you're thinking, man, is he married to that new formation,
Oh
right? I mean,
yeah.
he has so much success in the past with I guess it was a 4-3-3. I mean, it's very fluid, but it was obviously very noticeable that you were playing four in the back, and eventually you'll switch to a three when you attack. But not from the get go. Seeing this formation was quite refreshing, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, and you seen the highlights here. We got lucky to end the first half, but another one of those analytic wins for the Dynamo have been the signing of Felipe Andrade. The highlight before this one, he was up there attacking, as
Yes.
a wing back. So intense game, dude. What I rescue from this match is, whew, and that clearance off the line.
Two things. I'm gonna pause it right here. You
Yeah,
mentioned Felipe Andrade.
yeah,
Felipe Andrade, he had a really good game. Not an
yeah.
amazing game, but I mean a bounce back absolutely from the Rapids match. I mean, he probably was if you look at full mob, I think he was the lowest rated, and a lot of it was just because he was very exposed. Just from
Hmm.
really from Anali being so far up and not really coming back to help.
Yes.
Usually you would see him with a men in front of him and a men behind him, so he was never gonna win. And of course, he scores a unfortunate own goal, so that doesn't help you there. But it's good
Right.
to see him get that positive aspect here. And then second of all, since the highlight starts going into the second half, uh, Jonathan Bond. I mean, we talk about goalkeepers, right? So I mean, we see
Yes.
him from the get go. I was curious because I was watching the game with David, and I was like, bro, it's like I did the lineup. It's like I don't remember having Maurer starting. Like something happened here because I was kind of in and out of watching the game, and
Yeah.
but I never saw him being Bond. I never saw Bond like react like something was aching or anything like that. But at the end of the game, I think Ben mentioned that it was some kind of eye issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, I asked Ben, "Hey, is Bond okay? Did he get hurt?" He's like, "No." He gave me like a sarcastic. Apparently, seeing is important for being a goalkeeper.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe a contact, or I don't know. I mean, he didn't give us details, but it's
Right.
just something with his eyes. He couldn't see, is what he said.
And that goes
Uh,
full circle to what we were talking about, right? Between like Jimmy and Blake. And I mean, obviously,
mhm.
we don't know if this eye injury or, is going to keep Bond away from starting midweek or on Saturday. So, with so many games coming back to back, the opportunity is there for another goalkeeper to step in. And as you mentioned, that tends to be a forte for the Dynamo just in general. So I think, no pun intended, they're in good hands here. But let me go ahead and play the remaining
Sponsored by the
highlights.
Allstate.
You got it, man. You got it. Oh, what happened here? Let me see. All right,
They're
here you go.
restarting. Yeah, there
So
we go.
going back to 65 minutes. But yeah, Jimmy makes a pretty good save.
Yeah, watch this say right
Two
there.
saves.
Carlos Andrade, which is a revenge game for himself too. That wasn't
Yes.
spoken about a lot,
Yeah, former captain.
Right.
Yeah, Guillermo, man, continues to be the playmaker. I don't know how much is spoken of Bogish. I know he's carrying the ball here, takes but sometimes that's a header, man. That you going back
Yeah.
to the Locomotive game, he finishes. It's a wide open opportunity. You would think he would have gotten that.
And at
It,
this point of the game, something that already has occurred is Arthur coming on,
yes,
making that comeback at this point in the game.
I want to go to the play of the goal here because
Yeah,
I know it's a little grainy. I don't know why, but
that's fine.
when you start going back to it, obviously Anali does the hard work of dribbling a
Yes.
bunch of players. I'm surprised he passes his ball, honestly, being that close. But he sees a wide open Ponce, and
Mm-hmm.
it's everybody. I mean, really, just seeing the action, you'd think that Ponce just whiffs it, but it really looks like he gets touched by the Orlando defender just from the
Number
reaction
19. Yeah.
everybody. And so
Yeah.
just that alone, right? People are gonna mention of like, man, how are you missing from a goal? But he doesn't get to touch that ball, and
Right.
for Hector Herrera to be so high up the field and clean up the play with his left foot, you take that any day, man.
Right. And that goal earned him Team of the Week for this past match day. It was announced today.
Yeah, and I know everybody. I mean, granted, like anything, right? There's people that don't like Hector. There's people that like Hector. I think Hector's in a different role altogether, and it is going to be difficult to give him from the start in so many minutes, just because he wasn't doing that for about a year, right, with Toluca. So they're
Right.
at now 36. Happy belated birthday, Hector. If you're listening, which you probably not, but it goes to
Feliz
the point of
cumpleaños, por estás escuchando, para que
¿verdad?
entienda.
And yeah, of course, it's one of those that he's gonna need a lot of playing time and a lot of opportunity, and it's good to see him in this type of situations in a team that is struggling. And if you're able to give him minutes, give him minutes. It doesn't hurt. And yes, the return of Arthur is huge. It's huge. You can just see the partnership with not just Hector, but like the rest of the Brazilians and the rest of the team. It was just spot on, man. I hear.
The thing about Hector is before he left, in my opinion, he was not worthy of the DP type money
Yes,
we were giving him.
I agree.
Now, the role that he has now, where he's kind of like a veteran in the locker room, gives you minutes here and there, and veteran minimum or somewhere. We assume it's a veteran minimum or somewhere there, right? Something decent. I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna say that he's my starter, like you just mentioned. He's 36, but this is to me. Hector
Hey
started more
man,
of a,
I'm
you know.
36. What's wrong with you, bro? Come on. You
I
calling
know
me
you can.
old?
I know you can give me a full 90 seconds on the
I
pitch.
was
You
I
know.
was telling it's funny. I was talking to my brother whenever my brother's a big Liverpool fan, and
hmm
when the Mo Salah news that it was known that he wasn't going to sign, but he officially
Right.
makes it. And he's talking about like, well, where he's going to go, and I'm like, can come to the MLS, and it's like, no, and I'm like, dude, he's 34 years old, and my brother just goes, bro, I'll be 34 tomorrow, like same thing, it's like. I'm like, hey, but you know what I mean, in soccer,
Yeah.
you're like 60 years old, man. There's levels to this, Herman. But
Yeah.
I mean, he's
This
a
is a
guy that
rotational. This is a rotational start. This is a rotational start. And the kudos that I do give Hector Herrera, the thing that I do like about him, with the midfielder that he started, Hector was allowed to go forward a little bit. And what I like about Hector is that his intent is to go fast and try and thread that ball. Try and get something started. And I appreciate that, dude. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed, obviously, in the other game that he's come in late, he's not as sharp. Like it takes him some time, and
It
that's
does.
a
It
part
does.
of the age, a part of the not
Right.
playing much. And I think when you put him in with 20 minutes to go, it takes him about 10, 20
10.
minutes to just
Yeah.
get comfortable, right? And
Right.
so having him from the start, you get a different actor if he's able to play more. I think if you can get him to play 60 minutes every game, I think you're set. If
Yeah.
you can get
I think
Hector to
that's the
play
sweet
60
spot, dude.
minutes,
Yeah.
and obviously by then you hope that you're not chasing the game. You hope that the team is up. I would say 1-0, but 2 goals up, and then you don't have to worry about like, hey, I take out Hector and I lose the game. But because there are other players that can definitely come in. I think Bosad is a good option. Obviously, we know Jack McGlynn has been out injured. I think now with the return of Arthur, it changes the dynamic of that
Exactly.
midfield.
That's what I was gonna tell you when you're telling me to start.
Yes.
Let's assume that it's the back three line, right? Let's assume it's the back three line. So the wing back on the left's gonna be an alley. The wing back on the right's gonna be Holmes, but they didn't play Holmes on the right this
Yes.
weekend.
Yeah.
So you got two in the midfield, Arthur and McGlynn, in my opinion. If I'm choosing the best 11, and then you got your top three, Guillermo, Bogusz, Ponce. If we stick to that back three, choosing your best 11. Now, because it was, like I said, 4 games in 2 weeks. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
give Hector the start against the one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah, and Giancarlo makes a good point. Obviously, the first time that the Dynamo scored first, the first goal in the
This
MLS, and the
season.
first
Yeah.
the first clean sheet too. That's important
And that
too.
that's where I was getting at
Yeah.
about this game. That's
And I
what you
hear I'll put the
rescue.
stats here as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, 60% possession for Orlando, 40 for the Dynamo. The XG was very similar. Total shots was very similar. Shots on target, Dynamo had a couple more big chances. 4 for the Dynamo, 1 for Orlando. Um, I mean, you see the amount of passes. It was very limited, and obviously, that for the most part the guy with the most touches in the match was Hector Herrera, which again,
hmm
it's not new. We've seen that, whether now he had 49 touches, by the way. Jack McGlynn, since taking over, it's basically, I think finally adjusted to what they asked Hector in his first stint with the team, man. But yeah, and you mentioned obviously he gets team of the match day as well for Hector Herrera going forward. Usually we break this a little different. I know there's a lot of games. We usually try to do a standout, a letdown. I don't think we have to go into specific ones of each, but if you want to add somebody that impressed you this match, I know it's only a 1-0 game, but or what about Ponce? Maybe let's go a little deeper on Ponce, Herman.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously gets that goal midweek, comes in. I think he plays not bad. I mean, I think you talked about the hold up play and the pressing. I mean, that's something that he does very well. But you're hired to kind of score goals. I think that's the first thing on your resume when they bring you in as a DP number 10, ain't it?
I asked Ben Olsen after the Open Cup game, what did that goal mean for Ponce? And that's exactly what Ben Olsen told me. You're a DP striker. You're going to be judged on goals. And it's funny he says that because whenever he talked about Ponce in the past, the first words out of his mouth was, "Oh, the pressing, the pressing." I'm like,
Mhm.
dude, a DP9. I don't give a damn about his pressing.
Yeah.
you know,
No. Yeah.
and especially the amount of money they spent on him, right? And I will say this, and I'll tie it back to that Open Cup as well. Ponce needs to start taking advantage of those opportunities. I've been critical of the system that it doesn't produce enough for Ponce. Yes, we've scored a lot of goals, but in my humble opinion, it's been more about individual flashes from the
Yes.
wings. From the wings, it's not
And I
anything.
think, and,
Uh-huh.
and when you say the wing, I think specifically, you have to single out Enali and Guillermo. I think that,
That left
it,
wing is
yeah,
nasty, dude.
and I think that, for how much Ponce, critics are out there, I think Bogus has to be, another guy that people have to dissect the way he plays because he disappears quite a few
I
of the
I
matches.
I fear, and I hope I'm dead ass wrong. You know,
Cruz Azul
uh,
is he think he's wearing a Cruz Azul jersey
no,
here,
no, no,
Herman?
no, 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 not at all. I'm more worried that we've seen this movie before, Rudy. You remember Coco?
Yes.
Coco used to be on the far right, on the
Right.
wing, and he would disappear in games as well, dude. And I feel
But
Bogus is playing
I
that
kind of
same,
I see what you're trying to say, but I think
yeah,
that's in what I would come back at you would be in the sense of Coco. That wasn't his position, right? Coco was
right,
someone that
right.
played center, but Bogus, I mean, at this point, either he's played wing or he's played striker. And to me, honestly, personally, what I would do is I would bench Ponce. And again, this is not like I bench you
No,
and
no,
you
no,
never play him, but I
no.
would
I'm
bench
with you.
Ponce and put Bogus as a striker and see what, go with that, with that
I
change in that
I
sense
will
because he's
I
played
will
both.
double you up. I will
Yeah.
double you up and bring up the next point I was gonna bring is Bonsa needs to step it up because thanks to the Open Cup performance,
Yes.
Lingard is kind of. I know everyone likes Merkanich, but
Yes.
Lingard is kind of. And I asked Ben Olsen, where do you think Lingard's best position is on the pitch? Because you put him everywhere.
And
And
that
he's
and
like,
that's the mentality that I agree with you, man. I'm a big fan of Linger. I think
at the nine,
Andre.
at the
Well,
nine.
yeah, I wouldn't. The wing back, it's not for him.
No,
Absolutely,
no,
but he
no.
can play from out wide. He can play for you as a 10. He can, or a false 9, and then obviously as a more of a central 9. So it's a guy that it's you can play him in a lot of different roles. And yes, you're right. His best attributes are definitely closer to goal, and so he
If
can beat out a player
if
like Ponte who's very static.
yeah, if Herman had a say in anything, I agree with you. Bogish in that center of the pitch. That's where I want my best player, but I want him behind Lingard, and then Guillermo on the left, and I'll move Enali to the right so he can cut in with that left foot. I
Yeah.
don't want him playing wingback. I want him up top so we can take advantage of that speed.
Yeah,
And
and
then Jack as a center mid, and then you got Arthur more of a defensive
of a
mid.
shield, right?
That if Herman had a say in anything,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
putting the best players I possibly can on the pitch.
I feel that even last year there was quite a few wingers in the roster. Granted, I feel then it was mostly like players in winger position, but this year you have you know your best players are wingers,
You got
in the
studs, bro.
attack.
You got
Yeah.
studs.
And so the way that Anali has been deployed in the past was again as a wing back, and it's very noticeable that that doesn't suit him. His defensive capabilities aren't the best. He leaves a lot of his fellow teammates exposed. But the way that it was implemented against Orlando, whether I know at the end of the day it was only a 1-0, game, but I mean, you can build from that, head mind. You definitely can build from that. You don't have a lot of time to prepare that. Let's move into the upcoming games, and don't want to make this an episode of 3 hours. I know you probably have to go to bed and wake up early. And
How
but let's
long are
go.
these usually?
So we try to do an hour, and for the most part, we get
Okay,
them done.
perfect,
But there is a lot of
perfect.
games, so that's
Yeah.
why that's where we're going. But we'll touch. I think obviously with we're not gonna talk too much into the future because we have no clue what's gonna happen this first match. So we'll kind of go a little bit heavy on this first match against San Diego here at home, April 22nd at 7:30 p.m. Shell Energy Stadium. This is Week 8 for the Houston Dynamo and MLS. And my question was, can the positive streak continue against a San Diego team who's struggling, Herman? It's not the same San Diego team that we saw the first year. Maybe they're getting a little bit of that sophomore. I know there's a term for it, but anyway, they're not.
Snuff.
There you go. They're not hitting too well this 2026 season, but still a interesting team. I know there's a lot of drama with Chucky Lozano. He's does is not a part of the team. We keep seeing videos of him just training and honestly just throwing shade to San Diego. It seems like, but I don't expect a Chucky Lozano in this matchup. I know that last
No,
year he
no, no,
he was a
no,
part
no.
of it. Dynamo went to San Diego and beat them. San Diego came to Houston late last season and beat them here. So Jared says 3 hours, no problem. That's fine for him. Jay Hurtado, shout out to him. He's a guy that listens all the way from LA.
Hell yeah.
So here's the current results. If I can add them to here, to San Diego FC, they San Jose beat them 3-0. In San Jose, it's doing really good stuff. I don't know if you saw, but they beat LAFC. They thumped them. San Diego ended up losing to Minnesota 2-1. They just lost this weekend to RSL 4-2. Their goalkeeper was doing some funny business. I don't know if you saw Diego Luna scoring that goal, but yeah,
Some
it's a team that
Donnarumma
is
stuff,
struggling, brothers. Yeah, exactly. So it's a team that is struggling, and here I'll put as well their starting lineup. Uh, Dryer is still one of their better players. Man,
right.
I need him to score more goals. Obviously, not against the Houston team, but um they're just a team that look a little different, and you can see how offensively they're still very dangerous. Defensively, they're a little bit over the place. I know in the beginning of the season they won a game or two, and Houston homegrown Kieran Surgeon was a part of it. That was before, or well, replacing some of the injured left backs that they had, but now he's not even finding the bench. But yeah, San Diego's an interesting team, man. What are your thoughts about this matchup here, Herman, and kind of what you're expecting? I know lots of games now, a lot of moving pieces for both teams, man.
Yeah, this is tricky in the sense for what you're saying, right? I believe San Diego are still talented, and I don't think you can take them for granted. Now, that being said, due to their recent form and being at home, you got to get a result, man. You got to get a positive result. Keep this MLS streak going. Um, everybody's gonna be everybody, not just you. Everybody's gonna be playing not their most optimal starting 11. Everybody's gonna be playing subs. You just got to find a way to get a result at home. Kind of keep this positive momentum building. You need to after the rough start to the season.
Yeah,
And if not, if
I feel
anything, a
that.
clean sheet.
Yeah,
Like you need to start building something
Well,
If any,
and that's true. I mean, if it happens to be a shootout like it was in San Diego last year, with I think Ponce scored a brace and it was like
yeah.
a what like a 4-3 match or whatever the heck it was, like a bunch of goals in that game. But yeah, if that happens, as long as you get the win, that's fine. If you get a 1-0 win, you take it. Now, because you're at home, you definitely don't want to lose. And draws, I mean, mathematically are helpful, but as you mentioned, you really want to build something here. You really have to take advantage of it. And if it's you giving the ball to them and you are the one kind of controlling things without the ball, which I don't expect. I'm just saying if that was the case, because you're kind of playing for, as you mentioned, a clean sheet and you get it, that's fine because I think at the end of the day, it's early in the season, but you don't want to get the mentality that it's early in the season. If we lose, it's fine. And I don't think that that's the mentality with these guys. I mean, we talked to Ben and the players enough to know that's not the case, right? These guys are professional; they want to win every single game. But as you mentioned, this team is no cakewalk, and it could be a perfect trap game.
Hmm. That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I think it's the more you think about the way that they play. Yes, they're struggling. Yes, they have a lot of internal issues. San Diego, that is. And I think that even though Houston lost 3 straight matches, um, in MLS, the only really bad game that they had was against Colorado, and I mean that was from the get go. It was going to be an issue. The other 2 games, the Seattle game was probably one of their best defensive schemes and just in general, and you knew that it was going to go either way. And then the Dallas game, similar, right, to the Colorado game, just got out of hand early, and you were chasing, but you stayed in it. I mean, you flipped that scoreline 3-2 at one point, so it's
Hmm.
it's one of those that I think looking
They
at the
still have
entire.
Dryer, bro. It's
Yes,
as simple
they
as
have a
that.
player that can change the game, and on the Dynamo side, you have a Guillermo too that he
Yeah.
can be a game changer, but with the amount of money that was thrown to not just him but like Bogush and Bossad and other players that have come in, you kind of expect somebody else to carry the team because the scariest thing to me is that Guillermo gets injured, and then what now, right? What now when you start looking at it? And, knock on wood, I have to go hit a tree outside. Uh, but yeah, it's an interesting game. Okay, let's go. Just your prediction, man. What is your gut feeling telling you? Is this positive streak continues at least with a draw and a win, or you think because of Anders Dreyer, these chances are not looking fantastic for the Dynamo?
No, no, no. It has to continue. My gut is like it has to continue. Um, I think that it's too early in the season for people to start saying Ben out and to stop that from continuing.
Mhm.
They need a freaking win, dude. They need to start building some momentum.
Yeah, and again, I'm with you. I think they're gonna be they should be able to get a positive result here. We talked a little bit about Jack McGlynn. I know he's been day to day. It's good to have Arthur back. Possibly, I don't know if he'll get to start, but he played well enough that we'll probably get additional minutes,
Right.
maybe in the second half. And then Lucas Holter, I know that it's a guy that we've asked in the past. How his health doing. There was an Easter egg when we spoke to one of the Apple TV commentators because
Yeah.
he gave information that the Dynamo necessarily didn't give us, but it seemed like he won't
Yes.
be back till after the World Cup. So we knew that it was going to be a extended injury. I had, in my younger days, I suffered from a similar injury and kept me out for quite a bit. Obviously, when it happened, I was like, "Ooh, he's gonna be out at least a couple months," and it seems that is the case. I mean, for him to not be back till after July, you're gonna rely heavily on Agustin Resch, and of course Negri and whatever capacity you play them on this, either a 3 or a line of 4 in the back.
Or Bynes that you traded
His
for.
injury, yes. Jay Orta was asking his injury. He had a growing injury, so it seems like it was pretty a torn muscle. So it's gonna be a minute for him to return, or at least a pull muscle. We'll say pull muscle because we don't know if he really got surgery or not. But yeah, it makes you think. It makes you think for sure.
Yeah. No, I hate how secretive they are with us, bro. It's like this isn't national security top secret info, bro. Like
And I think it really
just
is an MLS thing, right? I think that they're not the only ones that say it, but to me, I just get a kick when you see an injury report. It just says lower leg or lower body. It's like
it's like
his big
let the
toe
people
fell
know, man.
off. What
Yeah.
did he get a scratch by a cat in the back of his
Yeah.
leg? Like lower body injury, it could be anything, right? So,
Then we ask
and
for more details and we get, but it's like we're just trying to do our job, man. We're trying to get some info
I
for the
think I
fans.
think my biggest question, and I know I haven't been able to make a bunch of the pressers this season, but Dustin and Joey tend to hold it down for us. But I know
Right.
you're there as well. But if tomorrow there's the presser for the game against San Diego, one thing that I would love to know, I know that we keep getting a McGlinnis day to day, but what kind of injury does he sustain, or is it something that he's dealing from that foot injury at the end of the season? It's just something
Right.
that's more or less what worries me because this here potentially already kept him out of the World Cup, which is disappointing
It
for
sucks. Yeah.
him, right? Um, all right, Herman, let's go ahead and finish the last game here. Let me see. Hey, I made a boo boo, but it is against Austin FC. I just realized. You'll see my boo boo. Tell me what my boo boo is here, Herman. You
Oh
see
yeah,
it?
the logo. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the Dynamo will be playing against Austin FC 7:30 p.m. in Q2 Stadium, April 25th. Another opportunity for the Dynamo to claim Texas. Obviously, they were defeated by FC Dallas earlier this year. Interesting matchup always, right? Those Austin Dallas games. Have you gotten the opportunity to go out there to the Q2 stadium?
I have not, man. That's on the bucket list, dude.
Yeah, I was able to go. Oh man, at this point, it's almost 2 years ago because Coco was there. So I was
Yeah.
there for the very first win at Q2. It was great to see a I don't know, tricycle kick from Coco
Mm-hmm.
Carrasquilla to win the game, but just good atmosphere. Obviously, they tend to get a decent crowd there, and the way that they just bring in lights and the aura of the stadium makes it a cool environment, of course. But with that being said, obviously Houston tends to struggle against Austin in general, whether it be home and away. Austin, again, probably heard of being taken out of this U.S. Open Cup already, and seeing Houston, not because technically they would have been playing back to back. They would be playing Saturday and then Wednesday, but that's not the case. But what have you seen, or what do you like from Austin? Have you seen anything? I know that Nico Steves, their head coach, is getting a lot of fire from the fans of just his decision making and the results that are happening. They are dealing with some injuries as well, but his team is struggling to click. And there's some guys that have come in. I think last game they drew 3-3, if I'm not mistaken. And Christian Ramirez, you guys remember
Mm-hmm.
Christian Ramirez, and some
Mm-hmm.
scoring and helping the Austin, get a point in there. But yeah, just your thoughts. I mean, this won't be fast, man. Again, I don't like to spend too much time in
No, you're good.
in
I would
games
just leave it to
before
what you just
games,
said.
but yeah,
Just what you just said. I don't know much about Austin FC. I'm gonna start doing the research after the San Diego game.
yeah,
So whatever you said, I trust you, brother.
yeah. No, no, no. That's kind of how I felt. All right. Well, we're doing good in time. We are now about to hit an hour, and you know what? I'm terrible when Christian's not here, but I'll tell you guys how to connect with us. You can find us at Bayou City Soccer, pretty much every social media platform. So if you haven't, look for us on your favorite social media app and give us a follow. We really appreciate it. Obviously, also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you are listening the next day to this, we do live stream, but if you're listening the next day on a podcast feed, man, give us, a review. I've always tell people, man, I like honesty. If you like us, give us a 5. If you don't like us, give us a 1. But tell us why you don't like us. Because otherwise I just cry in the shower by myself without knowing why people don't like me. So but we're here, man. I'm again Herman, thanks for joining us. And of course, I'll let people know too, our sponsors being Elotes Bravos. You can check them out at the stadium. You have Ugly Guppy, who helps us with our gear to look fresh at game day. And then I think that's it. Unisports. Of course, you can check out their stores in Tomball and West Chase. So, Herman, we'll finish it off with Dynamo 2. I don't know how much you've gotten to see Dynamo 2. They've been pretty good, man.
Yeah,
Um,
it's exciting.
and I know one main topic that people tend to hit, day in and day out, for whatever the case may be. It's about homegrowns and local talent. So we'll start with that signing of Matteo Di Marelli. I will say I really like this kid, man. I've seen him obviously now. This is his third season with Dynamo 2. He's only 16 years old. What were you doing, Herman, when you were 16 years old? But I mean, this kid's been playing basically since he was 13 with Dynamo 2, which is crazy to say. But each year he just gets better and better. And I know that Mateo Arana has gotten a lot of the praises just because of how young he is and that first team contract that he signed. But Mateo's a guy that I think we've seen grown in front of our eyes, with Dynamo 2. And it was just a matter of time before he got, this opportunity. I put him all the way towards the end because his contract is an MLS contract for this year, and his first team contract won't start till July 2027. So it's going to be a while before we kind of see him sneak into the first team. But it kind of begs to the question of like if there is injuries to the many wingers that we spoke about, Herman.
Yeah.
This guy would be a perfect addition alongside a young Matthew Arana. Any thoughts? I know again you've seen this guy as well, man. What do you like about him, or what are you expecting from Di Marelli as he continues to kind of get ready for that first team adventure?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I know that Ben isn't afraid to play anybody. It's just when you get that opportunity, you better make it count. Um, and like you said, there's been so many injuries to start this year, dude, that I believe that's why Matthew Arana was playing, when he played early in the season.
Yeah, and there is a couple with two goalkeepers sometimes on the team sheet.
And that's what I was gonna tell you when you said, we got three goalkeepers. Add a fourth to that list, dude. When is
Yes.
Pedro gonna get a chance?
Yeah.
Um, to your argument, you could say by tomorrow, move up Blake and then promote Pedro to be goalkeeper 3. But Pedro's a good one too.
Yeah.
Um, that's why I like the U.S. Open Cup, to kind of maybe try these cats out. That's where I would try them out.
I wish they
Um,
would do the same thing with like Leagues Cup as well. And I know they don't really treat it that way, especially when they kind of break it away from everything and make it its own tournament. So it pushes the teams to play
First
their
team.
first team. But I wish, this opportunities because uh, there was a really good clip, and I want to give credit. I think it was Alex Parra who asked the question about kind of like the academy system and how it's improved, and Ben went into detail about how much improvement there's been. And I know that people have been complaining, well, like these guys don't play, but in reality, I mean, Herman, we as Houstonians, we know that there's definitely a lot of talent, a lot of soccer being played, but it's a premium talent. That's my big question, right? It's because we really don't even see. Okay, maybe they don't make it to the Dynamo, but we really don't see many Houstonian kids go and make it, elsewhere either. If that makes sense, and people are always
Well,
gonna come back and say like Chris Richards, and a couple names here and there, but there's really nothing really that it's like, oh, it's wow, that wow factor. And we saw with Palomino, we saw that Castilla is kind of like the overhype over them. And I just don't
yeah,
think those kids were ready. And it was noticeable once they went to, either first division teams or second division teams elsewhere. And they just couldn't make their mark. And these guys, whether it be Arana, I mean, you take for example, we talk about Di Marelli. Those two guys have been playing with youth national teams for both Mexico and the US. And then also to add the fact of Sebastian Rodriguez, right? He goes to
that's what I was
his
gonna
loan
bring
out to
up, bro.
Rayados, and he just debuted. And I will, there's an asterisk there because this is probably one of the worst Rayados team in like the last 10 years.
Yeah,
And there, but still he's getting those opportunities. And one thing they mentioned, and I'll let you, give you the mic, is the
yeah,
fact that some of these guys, like, and I mentioned Kieran Surgeon as well as one of the homegrown that kind of left and went to San Diego and started to get playing time. And maybe they do get a little bit comfortable, right? Maybe they need to get out of their day to day basis. And as Sebastian Rodriguez has been here his entire career, he didn't go out to college, he didn't get that opportunity. So, I don't know. I think the talent is getting better. All that to say, the talent is getting better, and I think it's just a matter of time before they trickle in and actually make an impact in the first team, Herman.
yeah. The only, and I would say kudos to everybody that has criticized because they've heard it, and and I say this to say it that Sebastian and the left back you just mentioned in San Diego, um, the only criticism for the Dynamo is like, how'd you know they weren't good enough? How many times did you play them for your first team? And then when
Yes.
we see them get first team minutes, then that criticism gains more validity. The argument becomes stronger. Um, it's good that, like you said, to your point, the talent's getting better. Younger kids at 16, first team contracts for the Dynamo. That's insane, dude. But how legit are their opportunities going to be as well? And then when they get them, are they going to take advantage of them? But I don't think, had we criticized, I don't think we would have seen this homegrown
Yeah.
signing mania that we've seen this year.
Yeah, and like I said, the guys that they're picking up are guys that you can see they're you know quite above the rest, if that makes sense. And
And
the
they should,
and
right?
they should be.
If
They
you're
should
a
be,
beast, you're
right?
gonna stand out in MLS too,
And
next pro.
one thing that we've heard Ben mention in the past, I don't know if he said it this year, but in the past he had mentioned that, whenever they're picking out this player that they're, young kids that they're trying to bring into the first team, they want them to be the best team, or sorry, the best player in the team when it comes to Dynamo too, right? And
Right.
and it's interesting that, for how long, like maybe like again a Sebastian Rodriguez, that it's like he's right there, he just needs something, and it was visible. I went to many, of those games live, and many watching them on TV. He's good, he was good, but there's something missing. He needs that X factor. Diego Gonzalez, right? A guy that he's older, he does have sort of an X factor, but he's 24 years old almost. Like he's an older guy that it's going to be a little harder for him to get into the first team. But then to the other side of the spectrum, you have a guy like Matthew Arana who just did fantastic, with the younger academy teams. Finds himself late in the season last year with D2, goes into preseason and just, puts in the work and gets that contract. So there is ways to get in there. And Ben's going to get criticized for not playing the kids in quotation, but it's not something that he isn't afraid of. He did it quite a lot in DC, but he understood that the talent, has to be there, and it has to be earn that opportunities. But to your point, right? How do you know if he's not good enough to play on a first team when you see some of these guys leave and get that chance or not? And so what again, does it go back to the philosophy of like, well, if you're really good, if you're the best in Dynamo 2, then you are able to play for the first team. And that doesn't, because we know like Kieran Sargent, for example, he was not the best player for
Right.
D2 when he was there, before and after he went to college. And then again, we talk about Sebastian Rodriguez, just kind of borderline, like he's right there, but he's not there yet. So, what is it? What is the perspective there?
And I believe Diego is a good example. Like last year, his contract, or I might be confusing, but last year of his contract, and he's already 24. Like as an organization, what the hell do you have to lose? You
Yes. Yeah.
judge him. Judge him before he leaves, because if he's 24 and hasn't made it to the Dynamo, like his chances are slim in it, the way I see it. And before he leaves, give him a chance in the top. He's been one of your better players
Mhm.
the past couple of seasons. I, I would
No,
give him a chance
but
before.
it makes you think, because now, okay, you say, yes, in the context of you see Diego Gonzalez playing with Dynamo 2 and being like he's the oldest guy in the team, that says a lot, right? It says a lot. But then you go to, but you just drafted Agustin Resch, who's 24 years old, and now he's playing in the first team. So it's
At a
an interest.
necessity, though. At a
Well,
necessity.
of course, yes. There's definitely um the depth issue on the position, right? Which is giving the opportunity to Resch. But what I'm trying to say is that you can't say the guy's too old.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? You see my point? Because
yeah.
technically, you could play a Josh, or Josh Wolf's son, Gavin, who's been fantastic as a center back with D2, a younger guy. But again, there's qualities, right? I mean, Resch is a tower as well. Somebody earlier asked if your neck was hurting from looking up when you were interviewing him the whole time, uh, just because you had to
That's
look
the
up the
pain I
entire
feel
time.
right now, bro. I'm over here trying to crack it.
You're trying to figure it out. That's probably what
Hey,
it
but
was,
he's
man.
hey, I can tell you one thing though. He's got that dog. He's got
Yes.
that
Yeah.
DAWG in him,
and,
dude.
and that's the thing, like I think that's the crazy thing about the MLS. And I think something that's always been talked about, just the different roads that you can take into becoming a first team player for a team, because you can go through an academy, you can get bought from overseas or whatever, or you can come through the college system, and the college system doesn't necessarily work as much as it used to be, right? That used to be, I would say, the main pipeline for a lot of the MLS teams. But seeing that it still works, another guy out there is Gilberto Rivera. I really enjoy that guy, the way he plays. He's another guy that's gotten loaned into the first team, because you mentioned injuries. Sometimes you just need bodies on the bench. You haven't been able to use them, but those type of guys are, at the end of the day, they're hits that you're getting on those draft picks, and they're challenging the academy kids. That, I mean, but you sit down and see how many academy kids are just being called up to national teams. It's pretty incredible. Something that you really didn't see much in the past. Again, the main guys were Casillas and, or sorry, Juan Castilla and Palomino were the guys that were over being called up. There was even the kid from El Salvador. What's his name? Rios, Daniel
Yeah.
Rios. But again, this other guys are at 13, 14 years old being called up. I think it's important, and it just tells you that it's not going to be a night and day thing, the academy and the talent, but I think you're getting a little bit closer, Herman, and it's important to note for sure. But feel free to add anything else. I'm just going to point out that D2, and there's the picture of Diego Gonzalez, the captain, extend their unbeaten streak with a 1-0 shutout victory against Real Monarch. They'll be taking on Sporting Kansas City April 26th, which that is a Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time. You can catch that game on MLSnextPro.com. And you did also mention earlier Pedro Cruz. He gets Pro Player of Match Week 7. So that's all the news I have for you guys. Anything that you want to add, Herman, on D2 that left off?
Yeah, not D2 per se, but more
Yeah.
so on that youth academy topic. One player I was really hoping to see in D2 this year was Rafael Hinojosa. He's like a 17, 16-year-old kid, but he left the Dynamo Academy and is trying out in one of the Spain youth academy. I can't remember if it's Levante or Rayo Vallecano. So
And there's another guy. What, the Venezuelan kid? Remember the striker?
that's
What's
him.
it? That's
Or
no, no, no,
no,
no,
this
no,
is
no.
this guy.
No, the guy that, well, because it's a similar thing. There's a guy that I think Garcia was his last name. I can't remember if it was.
Okay.
I can't
Yeah.
remember if it was Juan. No, David Garcia. It's his name.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the guys was starting to win minutes. Obviously, a young guy too, from a Houstonian kid trying to beat out some of the South American strikers that D2 had last year. And he hasn't really played or been a part of the first team. And I know there's some guys that are picking to go to college, and I don't know if he's one of those guys that as soon as they pick that they're going to college, they see their minutes a little bit more limited just because they know that they have to give the
Not
opportunity to
future.
the guys that are
Yeah.
staying, at least for 4 years. But no, it is interesting. Like I said, there you see the roster, which they took quite a long time to give us that roster for Dynamo 2. But whenever just seeing the amount of players in it, you talk about Pedro Cruz being another guy, Logan Irv, the goalkeeper who's a homegrown. That's another guy that's interesting. Reese Miller, similar to Logan, went out to college, played well, and now is back, still in his early 20s. So the dynamics are just so interesting when it comes to those D2 players, and the way that you can approach bringing in players and not. But I wish, David Garcia. I'm looking at the thing, trying to see. He's 18 years old, so I don't know. Maybe he is going to college. I don't know. We'll figure that one out. But Herman, an hour and 20 minutes almost in here, man. Absolutely glad you were able to stop by and talk to us about the Houston Dynamo, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. This was fun, dude. Uh, like my name at the bottom, that's my tag on Twitter and Instagram. I help cover the Houston Dynamo for Foxtrot TV. So Dynamic Foxtrot on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. So that's how you find us. Love working with you guys. Y'all make it fun covering the team. So thank you for having me, man.
I mean, you're always welcome in here, there, everywhere, man. Hopefully, we'll try to record the Movimiento Naranja, and we'll get you on there as well. Get you. I feel like you're probably more animated, right? In our natural, or what is it? Our first
Right.
language. We're more animated than our second language here, man.
Yeah, so talking about those animations, if you want to catch that, I try to do the podcast in Spanish, so Dinámico. So you can find it on the YouTube channel as well, or podcast in Spotify. So yeah, I do the podcast for the Dynamo in Spanish. So yes, more natural.
I know you mentioned it in the beginning of the episode about obviously having the fandom for the Dynamo, but any other team you follow? I need to start asking some of the guests that come through here. Any other team that you suffer watching, or apart from
Like,
maybe national team, anything, club team, any other team apart from the Dynamo that makes you suffer when it comes to the sport of soccer, man? I know you're a big Astros and Texans fan as well,
yeah, so
possibly, right?
anything Houston, right? Anything Houston for sure. And then in the soccer world, so I'm from El Salvador, so I suffer that. That's just at birth. You're gonna You're gonna go through some. Um, and then growing up, obviously, I like we're kind of same age. You're a couple years older than me, so we got to see Messi when he was coming onto the scene.
I was about to ask you. Okay,
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it. I don't know, one of the last episodes. I pointed out Salvadorians in general. I feel like Salvadorians, you're either Real Madrid and you're
Oh
Barcelona,
yeah.
man. That
Yeah,
that's
yeah. I
that's
don't know
that's
how to
division,
explain it, but that's it. Dude. And my theory is because, dude, like our national team hasn't been there recently.
right?
Our club teams aren't like when it comes to the CONCACAF Champions League, we don't do nothing. Our there's no future there. Um, and so and then what's available on TV? La Liga. And
Right.
so you choose one or
They're
the
the only
other.
one that's in Spanish that is good, apart from maybe
Right.
Liga MX, and Liga MX,
That
you don't want to watch
that's
Liga
my
MX.
theory. My brother-in-law asked me that question. I couldn't even answer it. Um, but you and I know that Messi started wearing 30, then 19. So
Yes,
I kind of saw that. So
there
I
you go.
became, I started watching Barca. And then even younger, Titi Henry in Arsenal. I mean, half of every Arsenal fan that you talk to is
Man, you
Titi
like to
Henry, right?
suffer, huh?
Dude, yeah. And then Dynamo. So you stack that up. That's pray for me, dude. I mean,
No kidding, dude. I think if you're a somebody from Houston, and they still follow, like, I remember there were dark ages with the Astros, with the Dynamo,
yeah,
with the Texans even.
yeah,
I mean, you're a loyal person if you stick
right,
around through those
exactly,
painful times for sure, man. But
exactly, man.
people are saying that you're a Bilbao fan, Defensa y Justicia. That's funny. That's some good stuff. Napoli. But yeah, man, Herman, you already told the people how they can connect with you, man. Any words you may have, anything else that you may add to them following you, or just the sport, the fandom aspect of it.
Yeah, like what you said. I like what you said. If you don't like the podcast, tell us why. So I invite you to stop me at the stadium if you see me. I invite you to leave a comment on the YouTube videos or Instagram or tweet at me. We're doing this for you, man. Like, ultimately, this is your content. So we want to tailor it to you so you can be happy with or well informed about your team. Um, we're trying to do the best we can, you know. So your feedback is always greatly appreciated, and of course, the support, means a lot. A like, a subscribe, tell a friend. That goes a long way.
That's the thing right there. That we would love for everybody that watches the content, that we know that other fans. So tell them about it, because so I was having the conversation with, I forgot who, and it wasn't just a Dynamo thing. It was more about just the fandom in general. It's like sometimes it feels like you have to spoon feed a lot of people because they want that information, but
Yeah,
they don't look for it. They don't know, or maybe they don't know how to find it. And so it's important, yeah, to get that information out there, because there's a lot of guys, um like us, working, you say, hard behind the scenes and putting double shifts, man. That's for sure. Triple shifts if you have a couple kids like me, that make it a
yeah.
little
And
a little
then
bit harder.
looking at the comments, Rashawn is a loyal fan. He's loyal like us. But I don't support Napoli or Bilbao, but I do like what Bilbao stands for.
Mhm.
Only using players from that region from their youth academy in their first team. I'm a Barca player. I mean, fan, but seeing Barca, seeing Real Madrid, seeing those big dogs come down, get defeated. I love that. I'm
Yeah,
all for that. I love the chaos.
yeah.
So, and yes, shout out Glenn Davis. Soccer matters. Hate what happened to him. I wish there was more transparency on that. You shouldn't get fired just because you disagree. I thought he did it respectfully. But yes, shout out Glenn Davis. Soccer matters. Um, so yeah, I was just looking at the comments on the YouTube.
No, you're good, man. But Thank you guys for staying along. I know this was again a little bit longer of an episode. If we're gonna, I feel like they're gonna be about an hour and 30 minutes from now on, at least till there's,
Y'all
you
talk about a
know,
lot,
we
like
yeah,
Dino
there
Dos,
we have
previews.
we try to hit, and it's every Monday. So usually my favorite ones are like the transfer market ones because we talk about something and they happen the next day. You know how it goes,
Right.
man.
Oh yeah,
So
you record and there goes the
yeah.
episode.
But guys, thank you once again to following. We'll see you, Herman. This is not the last time we'll see you here, my friend.
Sounds good, buddy. Thank you.
All right, peace. Y'all have a good night.